Good morning, Mount Olive. Hope you're having a wonderful morning. Before we start our devotion today, let's go before the Lord in prayer. And I'm sure everyone has got a lot on their heart with so many different things going on in our world since the last time that we spoke in our devotion. So let's go ahead and go before the Lord. Father, thank you for all you do for us. Thank you for your many blessings, Father, upon us and our families, Father, and our nation. Lord, there are so many things that are going on in our world today, Father, that there are so many times we just feel alone. As Brother TJ said in Sunday's message, as Joseph, I'm sure, did as he was thrown into prison, Father, there are so many times in our lives we feel the same way. Father, we ask, Lord, you'll be in each and every situation, Father, in each and every family. Lord, where, Father, that illness, death has come, Lord, we ask, Lord, that you'll please be with them. Please be with the people of Ukraine and our world, with our nation and our leaders, Father. Please give them wisdom and knowledge, Father, as they go forward and make these decisions. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank Brother TJ and Brother Jody for following up on Monday and Tuesday and wonderful devotions, both of them. But the one thing that kind of stuck out to me in Sunday's message was the last part of the sermon of not being alone. And just to be completely transparent, there are so many times when trouble comes along in your life, and especially in some times of mine, that you kind of feel like you are alone. There are so many different times that, and I've heard the saying, when you pray, you don't feel like your prayers go further than the ceiling. And sometimes that's the way you feel, but that's not the way that God intends you to live your life or intends you to walk in His way. So let's kind of go back to some of the scriptures that Brother TJ brought out in his sermon, and especially expanding on the success message and focusing on Joseph. In Genesis 39:19, this is the part of Joseph's story that he has ran away from Potiphar's wife. He is being accused falsely of trying to attack Potiphar's wife, and Joseph, not wanting to sin, is now at the end of this decision. He's running, he fled, he got away, but the Potiphar's wife had lied that he was trying to attack her. So in verse 19, it says, "And it came to pass when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake to him, saying, After this manner did the servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him in the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in prison." So he went from being rejected by his brothers and his family, putting in a pit to be alone and rejected, to being sold into slavery, and then finally being brought as a slave into Potiphar's house and finding favor not only with Potiphar but with the Lord, and the Lord blessing him, blessing all that was around him, to now again Joseph feeling alone, being thrown into a prison, separated from people that he knew, the comforts of life, being in Potiphar's house. And in there, it says that in the very last, and he was there in prison, separated and alone. But you know what? As we look on a picture such as this, Joseph still knew that he had to be faithful to God, even though he was thrown into prison, even though he was separated. He still knew that the Lord was going to be with him. And that's what it says in verse 21. It says, "But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison." So even though his circumstances changed, he may have been thrown in prison, the Lord was still with him. He was still there, still giving him favor in all the times of his life. And in times of trouble, we do feel like we're alone. We do feel like we've been separated. And I think no better example can be of this pandemic we've had now going on over 2 years. You talk about being separated from one another at the beginning, separated from family members that you could only see over a computer screen, being with your coworkers that you don't interact with, covering our faces so we can't really see the expressions on each other's face, separation from each other, that we can't meet as a church body and fellowship like brothers and sisters. When we hear news reports of trouble in the world like we have this past week, we may feel alone that, God, where are you during this? God, is this part of your plan? In illness and death in families, we can always feel that we're trying to do this all by ourselves. And that struck to me when Brother TJ said it. I thought, well, Lord, you're speaking to me a lot of times, because there's a lot of times I try to do things all on my own. And most of all, sin removes us, keeps us separated. You want to feel alone, that you can't reach God? Sin in your life will definitely keep you at arm's length. But and Paul says here in Hebrews 13:5, says, let your conversations be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have, for he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. He's always going to be with us, regardless about what your circumstances are. Matthew 28:20, as Jesus is going back into the ascension, going back to heaven, he tells us that we should teach them to observe all things whatsoever I've commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even until the end of the world. Even though times look bad, even times the world has went crazy, you're not alone. Even though Joseph was in prison, even though he was in a dark place, he was not alone, and God was keeping an eye on him. He's keeping an eye on us too. Hope you have a wonderful Wednesday, and hopefully we'll see you in church very soon.